panelists that it is time for another episode of the RecPoker Podcast. I'm so excited for that because this is our weekly chats interview edition. We also have our weekly forums edition that's all about strategy. I'm Jim Reid, your host for both. I go by Bluffsterini in the home game and at RecPoker Jim on socials, and I have the best freaking job in the world, talking poker with my friends every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern live on YouTube. You can join us for free and win a prize just for showing up. Now, I'm excited. We're going to be talking to Lance Bradley in just a moment. First, I'm proud to share that we're brought to you by Running Aces. They are the official sponsor of the RecPoker Podcast, and you can find out more about them at runaces.com. Most of what we do here is free. We're a largely volunteer-based organization, so we really depend on support from our sponsors and from our premium members who take part in our training material and study opportunities for only $22 a month. So you can sign up for a free account at RecPoker today. All it takes is an email address and a smile. And you know we love supporting food banks around here. So if you want to check out the perks of our premium membership, just make a donation of any amount to your local food bank. Send us the receipt, and we'll happily send you your first month of premium for free as a way of saying thanks for helping out your fellow humans. Now, speaking of fellow humans, you know my voice because they let me host the show on Mondays, but I'm only one man. It takes a crew to make all the magic happen around here. We call our leadership panel the Wrecking Crew. And if you want to learn more about me or the rest of the Wrecking Crew, just go to rec.poker/crew or just listen up. You're going to meet a whole bunch of them tonight. We've got a full house with Rob Washam, Chris Jones, Lorianne Persinger, John Somsky, and of course, our invisible producer, Rob Gardner. So, gang, I don't know about you what have you been getting up to this week in the poker world? Or actually, maybe not even in the poker world. Rob Gardner, why don't you start us off, invisible producer, sir?
Yeah, I have a very special video for you, and it will just show you how crazy of a human being I am. So here we go. Let me cue this up. So this is in Southern Illinois last week. This is the start of a EF4 tornado that got to 195 miles per hour of wind speed and almost a half mile wide. And we were about a mile away from this. So we watched this thing spin and whirl and do its thing. And it is really, really intense to see this in person. So there you go.
Wow. How's the new fence holding up is what I want to know.
Well, fortunately, this was about 3 hours south. So this is something my mom really loves to do. So I will take her out on occasion and we will go watch these things for him. And this one was pretty crazy because it's called what's called a multiple vortice tornado. Oh, there's my really good camera skills here as we focus on the crack in my windshield. But
I wasn't going to say anything.
It actually has tornadoes within the tornado. So it makes it particularly strong. I've never seen one of those in person. So yeah, that's what I was up to last Friday. So
wow. So you exactly and your mom are like storm chasers. This is crazy.
About 7 miles south of Marion.
Oh so, wow. That is pretty far south. Yeah.
20 miles east of Carbondale. It was an insane day. St. Louis got hit with an EF3 tornado. Unfortunately, some people passed away in that. There were, I think, 31 tornadoes. So it's that time of year.
SIU, Southern Illinois University.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. About 30, 40 miles east.
Wow.
Give or take. So
do you have a getaway plan there?
Yeah. So we do.
Good question.
Because that's your windshield, so you're facing the tornado. Like you're not heading in the right direction.
I'm going to pull this video up again. If you look at the left-hand side, you could tell that it's hard probably with the camera, but you could tell that the left-hand side was moving left to right. So we knew it was moving north of our position. And off to the camera to the left is a north-south road. So I know very confidently it's not heading directly towards us. And should that change, I just beeline south and we're out of the path within, 20 seconds. So there is some skill and some strategy involved with the process. But yeah, that was pretty wild to see.
And I'm impressed you're using words like, from this position, using cardinal directions. You're obviously very plugged into the science of storm watching. I'm impressed.
It's something I've been doing we just actually calculated on the way home. This is my 30th year chasing storms. So,
okay.
Yeah, we've been doing it for a minute.
What's the closest? Has there ever been a moment of like conflict and tension that they would like make a movie out of it?
Oh, yes.
Like that?
So my first ever tornado, this is going back in 2003, I think. Back then, before we had, cell phones and GPS and all of this cool stuff in the internet, we had these things called gazetteers. They were these really big maps that had every single road on it. And so we were getting close to this potential tornado, and we took a quick turn on this road that went to the south that was like Bob Jones Road was like the name of the road. Well, in the gazetteer, it was named like 135th Street. So what was in the map and what was in there were not the same. So we turn on this road, and we don't know where we are. And it goes south about a mile. We hit a T and we start to head east, and I turn the corner first. My brother is in the car behind us, and he gets on the radio and he goes, haul ass, tornado right behind us. And I can't see anything because we're in like the trees. And so the road goes east about a half mile, turns back to the south, which is good. South's always your best exit from these things. And the road turns to the south. And so we're like, okay, good, it goes south. It goes about a quarter mile south and then U-turns back north. So we're like stuck. And that tornado ended up going about a half mile north of us. And yeah, there was some tension in that moment. Learned a lot on that day. But nowadays, with GPS and stuff, we don't have those kind of problems anymore. So
good point.
What got you interested in that? Was it the movie? What was that in the late 90s? The movie with
Twister.
Helen Hunt? Twister, yes. Is that what got you interested?
So actually, when I was 14, my mom was a freelance photographer for one of the local news stations. And so she got called out a couple times to film storms and stuff. And I got to go with her a couple times. And then, yeah, I was just kind of hooked and have been doing it ever since.
Nice. Well, that was a whirlwind of an update, Rob. Why don't we
where's the mute button? Hang on. All right, there we go. He's muted. We've Zomski'd him. I apologize to all of the loyal fans of the podcast who had to endure that pun. Okay, we'll unmute him now.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Very kind. I couldn't resist. You really teed me up for that one. Let's bring in the one and only Lance Bradley. I'm excited for this one. So hey Lance, welcome to the RecPoker Podcast. As you might have noticed, we enjoy our puns here pretty extensively. Oh no, Lance is muted now. Is that on our end, or is that we're
how am I supposed to follow that story? Who set me up for this? This is
that's right.
Welcome to the podcast.
The next hour is going to be anywhere close as interesting as that. I'm doomed to begin with. This is
well, doomed. I mean, you're wearing a Montreal Expos hat, so I think there's like a dark side to you. I can tell already.
Definitely one for the sad stories for sure.
That's it, exactly. It's the sad stories. Well, we're gonna have a lot of conversations about sad stories tonight and storytelling and all that kind of thing. The first question I want to throw at you, Lance, before we open the action with our speed round, is if folks don't know who Lance Bradley is. I mean, I'd invite them to crawl out from under that stone that they've been under for the last several years. But how would you define your own role in the poker world today?
Today, I guess, depending on who you ask, I would be mercenary, consultant, freelancer. I'm on sabbatical. I'm a grizzled vet. I'm an observer. But in reality, I'm a poker writer that's been doing this for, I guess, 19 years, 18 years, somewhere in there. Ran Bluff Magazine, was the editor-in-chief there, was the editor-in-chief at Pocket Fives, then most recently was the head of digital at World Poker Tour.
Fantastic. So I want to remind our YouTube audience, get your questions in for Lance. And we're also looking for stake, study, stack suggestions to play with at the end of the interview. But first, Lance, we are going to open the action with our speed round. So the rules are simple. The answers must be quick, short, and honest. You can say pass. All right. If it's not going to be quick, short, and honest, you can say pass. And we reserve the right to give you the buzzer if we think you're taking too long. Okay.
Sounds good.
2 minutes. I'm excited. We are going to open the action with Lance Bradley. The first one's an easy one, Lance. What is your favorite poker hand?
Aces. Anybody says otherwise is playing themselves.
Is poker a gamble or a skill game?
Yes.
What's your biggest poker pet peeve?
My biggest poker pet peeve. Pass. I'll come back to it.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
Is Ace King a drawing hand?
Yes.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
What's one thing you're afraid of?
Not having an answer to that question earlier.
Tournaments or cash?
Tournaments.
Should vacations be lazy or busy?
I think they can be both.
What's one thing you complain about in your life?
The price of things.
Do you prefer to play live or online?
Live.
Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Name one player you respect. Present company accepted.
Jason Kuhn.
Yellow light coming up. Slow down or speed up?
When I lived in Canada, it was slow down. Now that I live in the United States, it's speed up.
Who is your poker nemesis?
Jeff Walsh.
Are you pro chop or no chop?
Pro chop.
Name one musical artist you enjoy.
The Tragically Hip.
Nice choice. What's your favorite childhood family holiday meal?
Pass.
What's a great name for a dog?
Brady.
When's the last time you cried?
November.
Oh God. What's one thing you can't live without?
My family.
Is a royal flush a straight flush?
Yes.
Name a hand you would never 3-bet with.
I don't have one.
All right, there we go. Pretty good. Pretty good. That was we got a lot in. We
Got
got
through a lot of them there.
That was a lot. Yeah, I'm glad this list is so long.
One
That's
I passed
impressive.
on that I want to come back to.
Your favorite, your biggest poker pet peeve, I think. So we'll get that. Do you have an answer for us now? Now
No, I probably got too many. That's what's caused my brain to go into fritz.
Okay. I'm gonna throw it back in the rotation at the end of the show if we have time.
Perfect.
And we'll see. All right.
We can have him list the top 10 or something. Maybe.
Yeah, top five. That's right. Okay, so I just want to remind our YouTube audience again, get your questions in for Lance and give us some names for Stake Study Stack. And also stick around to the end of the show. We're going to do a food bank raffle, and we're giving away a really fantastic prize this week. So you don't want to miss that. Stick around for that one. And all you have to do is just type something for free. It helps support a local food bank, and we give away a great prize. So stick around for that. All right. Lance freaking Bradley. We're finally doing this. This is great. You have been in the poker industry for a long time, as you mentioned. You've worn a lot of hats. You've been in a lot of different positions. You've worked in different media. Your latest project is the Overlay, which is a Substack. Now, I've heard of Substacks. It sounds like a cool way to communicate about sort of like niche material to a set of adoring fans. Tell us a little bit about Substack, why it's the best medium for you, and what is the Overlay all about? Let's start with that.
So Substack itself is a publishing platform that is largely geared towards putting email newsletters in inboxes of people that want to subscribe to them. So whether you're into poker or food or pro wrestling or Canadian rock bands of the 1980s, there's likely somebody out there publishing a Substack with that sort of genre covered. There's a couple in poker, and when my time at World Poker Tour ended, I definitely wanted to keep writing. And I've been following Substack for a hot minute, as some other people I know that were on there from sports and some other areas that I follow, and decided to jump in and use that as sort of the way to stay writing, stay sharp, and stay on top of things. And it's a bit of a learning curve. I'm actually really enjoying that part of it, of trying to figure out exactly how this sort of new medium works a little bit, and just going from there. And as we head into the WSOP, I plan on producing some more regular content and using that as sort of the vehicle to really grow that audience.
Cool. Here, John Somsky, I know you've got some questions about Lance's time in the industry. We'll come back to some of this a little later.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you worked at both Bluff and Pocket Fives. What were your favorite parts of those jobs, and what did they entail for you?
So when I started at Bluff, it was as the managing editor, which is the number 2 sort of editorial seat there. And what they said was, hey, our website needs attention and we need you to sort of get it off the ground as sort of a place people go. At the time, they were really just focused on the magazine. The website was meant to be like a way to subscribe to the magazine. There was no content going up there, very little in the way of like tournament results and whatnot. And so they sort of gave me the keys and said, you come up with ideas and we'll figure out if we can build that for you. So there I got to build out an editorial team, a product, a content plan. And that was the most fun, was just getting in a room on a daily basis with my staff there and saying like, hey, what are we going to do today? And just having fun with it, because the poker world, one of the things that I genuinely love about poker is there is no endless number of stories. It's just, the thing I love the most in covering is the WSOP main event. And that's because there are 10,000 stories waiting to be told in that thing. Every single person playing that event, whether they're a pro playing for the 30th year in a row, or they've won a satellite, or they bucket listed it with their buddies and they're all there playing, there's just fantastic stories to tell. So getting to do that at Bluff and figure out what worked, what didn't, what we liked, what we didn't like, that was a lot of fun. When I moved on to Pocket Fives, it was a little bit different, because for those that remember the sort of OG Pocket Fives, it's now Poker Stake, they were covering the world of online poker, mostly tournaments. So the Mormons, the Patrick Leonards, the Nicholas Ostets were sort of the focus of their coverage. So it was almost like having to open a door to a new world inside this world that I've been working in for 10 years and getting to understand what that audience wanted. So that was a lot of fun, just figuring out what that was and what that meant. But at the end of the day, the thing I love the most is just talking to poker players and writing their story, sharing their story, and getting to know them a little bit. I think people that play this game are super fascinating. And I don't think that there is a sort of a model that everybody fits into, that everybody's going to have the same starting story. The way people find the game, the way they play the game, why they play the game, it's unique with everybody. And there's just, for someone who likes telling stories, there's nothing better than that.
And do you have a favorite of all of the previous jobs you've held?
No, I mean, I love them all the most because each one was just enough different where I was still doing the thing I loved, which was writing, creating content, talking to poker players. But they're also a little bit different from job to job. So, Bluff was the first one that really gave me the opportunity. And so that I always look back at that as a special one. I moved to Atlanta for that job from Vancouver after like 5.5 years. They moved me down. So that sort of opened up some new opportunities and new challenges for me. So maybe that one by like a pip or two.
Lorianne, you had a question next.
I do. Hey again, Lance.
Well, I have to stop right there. I don't know if you're going to mention it, but
I'm getting ready to.
All right, perfect.
It's a segue right to our question. For our regular viewers who may not have known, they always notice this is my background, and this is the person right here, WPT.com, that did the WPT World Championship. So now you have, because it's hard to read the writing, but the backstory. I was hoping you noticed that, but yes. So present company excluded, or you can include me. I don't care. Who has been your favorite poker interview and why? And thank you for noticing that you're on my wall.
I mean, stories like yours are up there. They're all, I've been fortunate enough in my career that I've interviewed, I'm going to say quite literally every quote unquote big name poker pro, right? And they're all fascinating. They're all good stories. And I love it when they give me their time. But going to a tournament like the WPT Prime Championship, the WPT World Championship, the Millionaire Maker, the WSOP main event, those are filled with stories of people who love poker, sort of living out a dream. And finding those stories and getting to talk to those people and hearing the real passion and joy for poker in their voice during the interview is intoxicating. Sometimes it's like yours was really an uplifting piece of how you got into the event and what it turned into for you. In 2000, I'm going to date myself. 2015.
Okay.
It was 2015. I interviewed a man named Bob Brundage. I was at Pocket Fives at the time, and he was playing the main event while dealing with terminal cancer. And It was a story of him and his best friend, Charlie, who Charlie decided he was going to take care of him. Brought him out to Vegas, made sure that he had a suite at the Rio that could accommodate longer breaks and easy to get to and wheelchair access. And he catered it with food. And the entire story was just like amazing. And those guys were super kind to share their story with me. And I remember when I finished the interview with Charlie, the second interview, and I was like, I can't screw this up. These guys were super forthcoming and open and honest and emotional, and I can't screw it up. So that one's probably up there. That was one of the more memorable ones from my time at Pocket Fives. I think on the other side, getting to interview Isai Scheinberg 6-7 years ago was also a big one, and that's more on the industry side than the player side. But those two probably are big for me.
Nice. I can understand why that one was definitely on the personal side. That was, yes. So thank you.
Now, those are, we talked about sad stories and sort of like sentimental moments and making connections in the poker world. But you also talked about your current role of being more of sort of like a mercenary or, like a consultant, a man with a sword in no country. How does that work? Like, what does a typical day look like as a poker consultant? What's that about?
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough in the time since I've left WPT that there's a few companies I'm working with on a consulting basis. And a lot of times it's really just answering questions for them. Or they may come to me with a specific opportunity or task and be like, hey, can you look at how we would build content around this? How do we do this? What's the best approach? And then they're also looking for me to help with introductions to people to sort of build the content itself. So that's a little bit of my day. There's a lot of email answering back and forth. And then I'm doing a lot of research on building something out of the Substack and out of the overlay into maybe something bigger one day or doing something a little bit different. That's
cool. I just want to follow up on the overlay a little bit there. So how did you choose what voice to use in that? If you want to think about it as like a newsletter, a missive, you've got such a wide breadth of experience in the industry. How did you choose like what to narrow it in on and how to speak about this game that you love so much?
So I think I'm still finding that voice because it's that's one of the things it's allowed me to do is figure that out and not have to exist in a lane that was pre-made for me, right? So I'm still sort of figuring that out. The people that have worked for me over the years will tell you that I cannot stand writing in the first person. So I need to. I see a lot of people on Substack do it, and I understand why they do it. It's a personal brand thing, but it's much like trying to. It would be like sitting a hold'em player down at a stud table and be like, "It's just poker. Figure it out." It's just a little bit different, and so figuring out if that's the way I want to go. But in reality, I just want to tell stories. And whatever the story of the day turns out to be is what I want to focus on. Whether that's, the first one I did was Shannon Shore and sort of dealing with the sobriety he went through and what that ended up being on his poker results and how that sort of reframed his thinking at the table, or just doing some commentary on the things that are happening in the poker space where I think I can add some insight and maybe a little bit of value.
Chris, you had a follow up there. Jump in.
Yeah, Lance. I mean, I've been kind of a fan of the content you're putting out. And I hope you keep going with the overlay. It's got some great stuff. I'm curious about your process. You're not now working with an organization, and you can kind of tell the stories you want to tell. What are you looking for, and how are you finding? I mean, how did you find the Shannon Shore story? How did you find the Eric Lindgren one? What draws you to it, and how do you find those stories?
So I think for me, one of the things that I'm most proud of is my ability to find stories. And it just comes from, it's going to sound like super cliche and like someone coaching dad T-ball or something, but it's just really from paying attention and listening and hearing what is being said. Shannon, that story, he tweeted out when he finished, I think it was a year of sobriety. And instantly I was like, I want to talk to him about this because he's going to put a Twitter thread together and he's going to put a lot of great things in there and he's going to have some back and forth with people answering questions. But I think I can help tell that story a little bit deeper, a little bit more than maybe he can in a Twitter thread. When it came to Eric Lindgren, that's another one of my favorites from my career. Eric Lindgren post Black Friday was in rehab for gambling. And I went down to the rehab center in California and spent some time with him, talked to him about it, and what he was hoping to get out of it, what it was meant to him to sort of be there, and what was next for him. And so over the years, we've had a pretty good professional relationship. He made a WPT final table about a year ago, and it was a year ago next week that he would have been playing the final table. I think it was Choctaw. And we talked a little bit then. So when he won the Hustler Casino Live 25K satellite, I was like, yeah, if he does anything with this, even if he shows up and just absolutely punts $1 million, I want to talk to him about it. And got him on the phone and had a conversation and really went into some of the things that were behind his journey there, which I don't think anybody else would have found out on Twitter or whatnot. So I'm just fortunate that I listen, and my mind works in a way where it's what's the story here? What can I do a little bit differently than maybe somebody else would? So that's just a thing that I'm super proud of, is my ability to sort of find stories and then be fortunate enough to get to tell them.
Nice. Well, you kind of mentioned just like doing something a little different. I just want to remind our YouTube audience, we love supporting food banks around here. And if you want to make a donation to RecPoker through the YouTube chat, whether it's a super chat or a super sticky or a super comment, we would appreciate that. And we share a portion of all those donations with a local food bank as well. You can also go to rec.poker/support and find some great ways to help us out, but also to support some causes that are important to Wrecking Crew members. There's a lot of great causes to get behind right there. And I want to just remind you that there's awesome people out there. Last week, Justin Vautrin, I hope I'm saying that correctly, tuned into the show on YouTube, I think for one of the first times, really enjoyed it, and then sent me a receipt for a donation he'd made to a food bank afterwards for more than it would take to become a premium member for $22 a month. So I've been in touch with Justin and set him up with a free membership here, and I just want to encourage all our folks to go help out a local food bank, and of course we'll take all the help we can get here as well. So we've got some questions from the YouTube chat coming through as well. Lorianne, sorry, did you have something to jump in with there?
Oh no, I was just agreeing with you, but I did want to tell Lance, I haven't read the Eric Lindgren story one yet, but I read the Shannon Shore and definitely enjoyed that article. Just wanted to tell you that. Yeah.
Nice. So we've got one question from Benny the Jet. Okay, so this is a strategy question, Lance. This is so I want you to put on your serious poker strategy hat. Would you rather take on one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
I love this question. I ask this all the time to people. So what it's a horse-sized duck?
It's one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses.
Give me the 100 duck-sized horses, because I can kick those. Like it just turns into a soccer match. The other one, I'm probably a dog to win the fight.
I think you're right.
I'm gonna swing, but I'm gonna lose. That thing's huge.
And like vicious. I don't know if you guys have a lot of experience with ducks. If they're anything like Canadian geese, you do not want a horse-sized one of those anywhere near you. I promise you that. This one's from Eric Anderson. Is it a question? I guess so. Danny Carey is a better drummer than Neil Peart. Prove me wrong.
Okay.
He declines to prove you wrong. Yeah, that's right. I'm not getting my blood up for that, he says. We have another question from Benny the Jet, also an Expos fan, I want you to know. Says, what was Lance's favorite place to visit to cover or play poker, or any your favorite poker venue?
Okay, so this is actually really easy, and I get to throw some shade at a former guest, a recent former guest. He knows who he is, and he knows what he did. The favorite event I've ever covered is the Aussie Millions. I think I went 3 times. I don't know. It was absolutely amazing. That event not being on the calendar is an absolute travesty. It was always either directly overlapping or off by a week, overlapping with the Aussie Open tennis tournament, which was literally down the street. So you could get up and go to the morning session, watch 3 or 4 hours of tennis, enjoy yourself, come back, cover the tournament the entire day, and then repeat the next day. It was fantastic. And if you wanted to jump out in the afternoon to go see some of the bigger stars, that was easy too. The staff there took care of us. The fields were huge. I mean, we're talking 700-800 people playing a 10K. And Australian people are fantastic. And it's in January, middle of January, which is the middle of the Australian summer. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this tournament. The food was great. The people are great. The action was great. The stories are bountiful. There's just nothing bad about that, other than when you play a prelim event and you're looking for your first Hendon Mob flag, not first Australian flag, first flag, period. And you get seated next to Kev Math, and he just decides to run roughshod over the table. And Bad beats you. I think it was Ace 10 versus Ace King, which is why he's drawing hand. And he got there. So, I'll forgive him one day, but not anytime soon.
No, it doesn't sound like it. So there was a couple sad stories tied up into that one. But one of them is, of course, that the Australian that tournament is that festival is no longer available.
It's coming back. It's just a matter of when.
I've heard that. But will it retain the magic and mystery that made it great?
See, part of the magic is the venue itself, because the Crown Casino in Melbourne is fantastic. It's a really nice high-end casino, except for the poker room. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. The poker room was literally in the basement, and it had this cool energy to it that if they go in and they redo everything, and it's just not going to be the same event. It's going to be another big 10K somewhere. The fact it was lower ceilings than anywhere else in the building, funky stairs all over the place. There was a rowdy bar at one end. It was perfect, absolutely perfect.
Let's take the flip side of that. What's your least favorite destination? Say it again.
Tunica.
So just immediately had that one in the barrel.
I think this goes back. This predates my time actually in poker media, when I was running the poker room for Bodog, the online sportsbook casino poker room back in the day. And I went to Tunica. It may have been my first trip. It was either first or second. I think it was the first one we'd sent qualifiers to. And, you fly into Memphis, you drive to Tunica, and it's just not a very nice casino. And it was in the ballrooms on the upper level, but during breaks, they forced you out of the ballroom into the hallway. And this was 2005, 2004, 2005. They forced you into the hallway amongst the ballrooms where everybody chain smoked for 15 minutes, and there was nowhere to go. So you're stuck at one end of the hallway as 500 people race to smoke as many cigarettes as they can, and then let you back in the room, and you're just, not an enjoyable experience. And then there's just not a lot to do in Tunica when the tournament bags at 4:30 p.m. on a Wednesday. Hey, what do you want to do tonight? What do you mean, what do you want to do tonight? You're doing it. Oh.
Have been there many times, can confirm.
There you go. All right, Lorianne, why don't you jump in here?
Okay, I got to follow that. Thanks. No.
Yeah.
Okay, Lance. Of your 4 GPI awards, which is your favorite, and why?
Oh, thanks for getting the 4 award thing in there. Appreciate it.
Hey,
I wasn't sure how to work it in.
That's what I'm here for.
Which is my favorite? I mean, the first one that I won was for that story on Bob. And so that was, and you know what, when I published that story, I'm not going to lie, I was scared to death. And I hit publish and walked back into the Amazon room at the Rio and was like, either people are going to know or no one's reading it. There was no in between. And I was immediately, met by a few people who were like, that was great. Thank you so much for writing that. That's the best thing I've read on poker in a while. So it's really great that you're telling that story. And when I went to the awards, I was like, I really hope this wins. I kind of poured my heart and soul into this one, and I think Bob would love it if he won. And after they announced the winner, and I got back to the table, one of the people who had voted was like, I just wanted to let you know that you got every vote. It wasn't close. You got every vote for this. We didn't debate it. We didn't talk about it. We just knew when it came up that you had won. So tip of the cap on that one. The other ones are all special too, because they just mean a little bit different. The one for the book, I mean, people have asked me if you're going to write another book, and I interviewed 50 people for that book. I have no idea what I was thinking. Literally out of my mind. There's 5 books there. I could have done 10 people in each book and done 5 books and made 5 times the money. But so winning for that was kind of nice. I think the Journalist of the Year one is also a special one. Just I take a lot of pride in that. So
Mhm.
I think probably that one by a pip or two.
Chris, take it away. Good segue
Yeah.
here, I think.
Yeah, it's a good segue because I had a question about the pursuit of
Yeah.
poker success.
Great.
So you kind of talked about, that you're kind of a story collector, but you've also just mentioned you did a book 2018, Pursuit of Poker Success. You profiled 50 poker players. Is there any perspective or idea? Maybe you wouldn't write another book, but is there any perspective or idea 7 years later that you might put an addendum on or kind of add to it, or what would have wished could have told that as part of it?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is how the book is structured, right? It's 50 profiles where the lead question in every interview was, how do you define success? And so after I was done the book, and it was actually when I was doing the audiobook recording, a few things just jumped out at me. And one of the things that really struck me was, out of the 50 people in the book, 48 said that they wouldn't have been successful had they not found a group of people to talk poker with, to learn from, ask questions, to help, to teach. There was only two that they both used the term lone wolf. And so I think I'd really like to explore that more, particularly through that era of poker players from 03, 04, 05, and how they found those groups and how they came to sort of define their poker careers through this group of people. I can think of some that are still 20 years later, still a very tight group of 4 or 5 that talk poker regularly and talk life regularly. So I think I'd like to explore that a little bit more.
Love it.
So Lance, you're basically saying that the key to poker success for a lot of these famous, successful people was joining a group like RecPoker and talking with
100%.
friends. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
No. And yes, but also there were people that that found their friends on 2+2. They found their friends on RGP back in the day. They found their friends on Pocket Fives because it was a forum. So there was a lot of sort of that making friends in the DM side of it that's turned into lifelong friendships and made a lot of these guys pretty wealthy and pretty successful.
I believe it. I think however you find your crew, I think having people to bounce ideas off, having people to challenge your assumptions about poker strategy, I think that's really important. And of course, also to have someone to champion your wins and commiserate your losses with you, I think is also
100%.
Really valuable. We talk about kind of like poker, the lone wolf theory, the sense from non-players. I think that is what a poker life is. Whereas I think that's really only true at the table itself, and having a good support group of friends and colleagues and peers is not always easy for people to find in their normal life. I have a lot of great friends, they're not really that into poker. What about you in your own life? How much of your own social life has been kind of taken over by poker, by poker people?
So by the game itself, no, but by the media side of it, the content side of it, yes. I have a lot of great friends that I've worked shoulder to shoulder with at the WSOP or WPT events, not necessarily for the same outlet, but just, we're in the same game. We're trying to do the same thing. And we're just spending a lot of hours together. So you get to know people that live all over the country. Some of my best friends come from the poker media space, and I'm grateful for that part of my journey, that I've met these people that I otherwise would never have met. So most definitely that makes up a good chunk of my social life, is talking poker media and poker content with people in the space. And then we end up talking about other stuff like sports or movies or whatever. So yeah.
Now, do you play for fun, or do you still enjoy the game of poker as a game?
I don't play as much as I'd like. I live in Georgia, and there's not a lot of safe and live games here. It's we have a very active live game scene. It's very high stakes, or it's very predatory. Unfortunately, we do have the social clubs popping up here. One of the bigger ones was maybe 20 minutes from my house. And one day, I believe it was the sheriff, finally showed up and said, what you're doing is not okay. So It's left to question whether or not it's even still legal here. So I try and avoid those spots. I love the game of poker. I love watching it. I do love playing it when I can. When I go to Vegas, I try and play a little bit and get some hands in, whether it's cash games or a silly little nightly just to splash around. But I just genuinely love the game.
Is there anything about your work in the industry that has helped you improve as a player?
I mean, as a player, I think it's impossible to be around the people I've been around for so long and not pick up a thing or two. One of the questions that I absolutely love but totally detest is when I meet people that are not into poker and they ask what I do. And these are, people within our social circles here in Atlanta, or my daughter's friends' parents or whatnot. And they ask what I do. And I tell them I work for the World Poker Tour or Bluff Magazine. And I read about poker and like, oh, you must be really good at poker. No one looks at Brian Windhorse and is like, that guy's going to be in the NBA. That guy's got a jump shot. But they just instantly assume it. And so like the way I've learned to answer that is people like, oh, are you any good at poker? And I'll just look around and be like, look, I'm the best player in this room. I am not the best player in most rooms. And I say that just because I know most of you haven't played a lot of poker, and I would probably figure some things out a lot quicker than you would if we were forced to play suddenly. So, but for the most part, I think it's just about being around those, whether it's the high stakes tournaments or the bigger field mid stakes, they call them. I think I've picked up enough that I'm probably halfway decent if I put my mind to it.
All right. Now, I just want to remind again our YouTube audience, if you start typing the word food bank into the chat, that's going to get you a raffle ticket. And at the end of the show, we'll raffle off a fantastic prize. The reason that we ask you to type the word food bank or the words food bank, however you do it, is because it's a very difficult time in the world today for a lot of people. And you might be surprised who in your own community, in your own neighborhood, is struggling to put a little food on the table or to feed their loved ones or their kids. And it's just, we're trying to take the stigma away from getting help when you need help. And that doesn't just apply to recreational poker. It also applies to, everyday parts of your life, like putting food on the table. So I would encourage our listeners, if you're watching at home, just press pause and pull out your smartphone and Google food banks near me. You'll find some fantastic organizations that can benefit from a few dollars out of your pocket, a few hours of volunteer time in your week, or some non-perishable food items from your pantry. And I'd encourage you to do that. It's just a great way to get a big ROI on your own effort to make the poker world a better place. So I see some folks typing the words food bank in, and I encourage them to do that. And hopefully we're going to give away a fantastic prize to one of them. Rob Washam, I know you are RecPoker's Santa Claus. What do you have in your big bag of toys for our winner this week?
Well, this week we're giving away a free month of pokercoaching.com. And if you're new to pokercoaching.com, you can get 3 full days to explore everything poker coaching has to offer. If you're getting ready for the WSOP with their tournament courses and particularly crush the WSOP. So you can go to rec.poker/partners for links to all of our learning partners.
All right. And we're also going to give away some prizes at the end of the show for our most active premium members. And also for the folks that have performed at the highest level in our free Play Money home game club that, again, we're going to be turning right back to you, Rob. Keep Mrs. Claus on speed dial because we could need to bring her in at any second here. All right, we've got a couple YouTube questions here. This is from Ham and Egger, who I'm hoping is a golfer. If you were poker commissioner for one day, what would be the first thing you'd change?
Oh, first thing I'd change. Poker commissioner is a wild one because it puts you in charge of all of the tours. I think scheduling and forcing the tours to not overlap. I think there's a good opportunity to grow the pie instead of fighting over what's in the pie dish. Yes. And I think if we can avoid those overlaps, you're going to see fields increase all over the place. It's, I wrote a piece for pokerati.com recently where sort of the thesis was that, poker itself is a zero-sum game, but the industry just can't be. They need to be thinking positive sum the entire way. And I think that's one of those things I would put into that basket is having events purposely overlap each other is negative EV for everybody involved, players included.
You got my vote. You should run for commissioner.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah, can we make that happen? So we've got another question. This one's from Benny the Jet. And we recorded an episode kind of based around this in our forums edition that's going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks. But let's ask Lance as well. Lance, do you have any advice for someone trying to get their foot in the door in the industry? Is there like a good starting point to kind of start building a portfolio or a reputation in the poker world?
Yeah, I think it's, and it was a bit of a hot button topic a few months ago, but I think call up Poker News, tell them you want to do live updates, and say yes to what they offer. Maybe push back a little bit and get a 10% bump on what that initial offer is. But if you're genuinely serious about wanting to do poker media as the career, that's the starting point. If you look around at the people that are sort of in higher positions at Poker News, Poker.org, Card Player, Poker Go, if you look at who's in charge of content there, they all got their start in live updates. I am the unicorn. I did not start in live updates. I left Bodog and started my own blog back when those were the thing, and just used that as a way of building a brand for myself, and eventually turn that into the Bluff magazine role. So I would say get on board with doing live updates. It gives you exposure to the industry. It gives you an opportunity to meet as many players as possible, which becomes super beneficial when you want to start writing longer articles. These people. And like I said earlier, the thing that I take a lot of pride in is my ability to listen. When you're the live updater and you're standing amongst 6 or 8 tables all day long, you're going to hear people talking and telling their story. And they're telling it to 8 people.
Yes,
if they're comfortable telling it to 8 people, they're going to be comfortable telling it to you to tell to 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people. So those live updates roles give you an opportunity like, hey, I heard you can go to your editor at the end of the day and be like, hey, during the day, I heard so-and-so tell this story and I'd really like to talk to them about it for an article. If you can pitch it well enough, they're going to say yes. And that live updates opens the door for everything. So go do live updates, whether it's for Poker News or with Poker.org's team or joining the Venetian group or whoever. Find a way to do live updates. It's unmeasurable how much that'll help you.
All right. And that is, like you say, sort of like the trenches, right? That's where people pay their dues and
yes, they do.
Find out who's
it's
who's
long days, it's not
chutzpah.
great paid, but if the end goal is editor of something, that's where you're going to start.
Very cool. Great answer. We got a question from Evil Roy Slade. Does the shirt still exist?
I love that someone brought this up. Yes, the shirt still exists because I can't bring myself to throw it away. It has been in the closet since the day I got to take it off. So I haven't worn it. I haven't been tempted to wear it. I have joked with my wife that I'm going to wear it to dinner. Doesn't go over as well as it just did. So yeah, I can't bring myself to throw it out, but I never want to wear it again.
Now you mentioned sort of some poker editors and some content creators and some writers. Let's stick just in the world of poker writing. Who are a few people that you think are doing really good work these days?
I'm always going to lead off this by saying Brad Willis. He is fantastic, and I think he's the standard by any measure. So Brad Willis, who's with Poker.org. I think Connor Richards at Poker News does some really good stuff. I think there's, I appreciate what Chad Holloway is trying to do right now in being a dog on a bone with the story he's working on right now with Maurice Hawkins and sort of his situation. So I think there's some good stuff being done. The thing that I can't vouch for the writing, but I can vouch for their work ethic and their passion is the poker media in Brazil is as rabid as the poker scene in Brazil. And they're very passionate about not just poker, but the work they do. And they put in long hours, and they're covering a scene that is like Texas, but times 5. So I really think those guys don't get enough credit when it comes to the awards every year. That there's not enough people that can vouch for how well the stuff they're writing is. But if it's anywhere close to what their work output is, it's going to be fantastic stuff. So I would say that, heading into the summer, Brad's got a newsletter over at Poker.org. Subscribe to that, and then Connor is going to be doing a bunch of different stuff at Poker News. I'd be anxious to follow his work there.
Fantastic. Hold your nose for this question because it comes from BO. How can the industry make traveling more affordable to attract players through room packages, meal incentives, and that kind of stuff?
So this goes to what I think is going to be my answer to that question. I couldn't come up with one, but the truth is that it's really rare that you find a operator where the casino, the host venue, is going to bend over too much to help players, and it's only because of revenue numbers. If you really get down to it, we went through a period in Vegas. We're going through a period now where rooms are reopening, which is like, this is awesome. This is great. But there is a period where accountants and bean counters were walking into a poker room and seeing 2 tables running and said, I can put slot machines here and make 50 times every day what you're making for me at 0 overhead. So tell me why I should give comps to your players, and do it slowly because I'm just going to reject it. There are very few operators that have a soft spot for poker or really care about the poker players. I'm not saying there's none. There's definitely some. Working at WPT, I got to see what the Win did firsthand. Those guys love poker and they appreciate poker players and they appreciate what it means to the Win to have the respect of the poker playing community with the way they run events there. So what can the poker community do? I mean, not a lot, unfortunately. I think it's a matter of probably looking at some scheduling quirks and finding ways to hey, instead of booking this tournament series during what is normally a busy time for a casino when hotel rates are going to be through the roof and we're going to sell out anyway, why don't we find the downtime in the calendar and put a decent 2 or 3 week festival here so that we can maybe sell some rooms at a lower rate than we would in prime season. Which is I think a step that I've seen some casinos exploring it. So maybe that's the path. But really, if you get a casino that's willing to be a good partner and willing to help out players with hotel rates, you've found a real gem.
And you mentioned the Win. Are there other venues or tours or a series that you think are sort of have their heart in the right place when it comes to that kind of stuff?
I mean, definitely there's a lot of that have their heart in the right place. It just gets tricky when you start getting outside of our bubble and you talk to that accountant or to that VP of casino operations.
Yeah.
And he, again, is just thinking of square footage and not the sort of overall ecology of the poker room and how it can bring different benefits to your venue. So, I think the Run Good group does a fantastic job of creating a real community feel around festivals. I think there are partners that WPT has that do a good job of working with them to make things a little bit more than just a date on the calendar. And so I think you're starting to see now other venues, other operators are realizing that maybe if you put a little bit of attention on this, it'll certainly help the overall numbers. So I don't think we're in a bad space by any means. I don't want to misrepresent that, but I definitely think there are some that are just sort of a level above. I think Aria does a great job as well. I think they really care about poker players in that room.
That's awesome. All right, well, I'm going to give our YouTube audience one last chance to get some questions in. We're going to wrap up the interview shortly, and so it's also your last chance to type the words Food Bank in and make yourself the potential winner of what we got a bunch of prizes we're giving away tonight, I see. So I'm very excited for all of this. Lance, you mentioned your time at WPT. From the outside, there was this sudden sort of explosion or uncontrolled disassembly of the media team there. What can you tell us about your version of that, your experience of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that different from the inside. I don't want to go into too much detail, but we were kind of surprised by the decision and the direction. It came after a pretty successful WPT World Championship, and more importantly, the lead up to that and the $5 million free roll. So I think the the thing that's probably most disappointing to my team and myself was that we didn't get a chance to sort of finish what we had started. And I think we were doing something really different and really unique there. And I think it was an important piece of the puzzle for the poker world. Now that it's missing, it's something when I look out into what's available now, I don't see it. And that's a little bit frustrating and a little bit disappointing.
Now, I know you can't get into some of the details about it, but so I'll just pivot the conversation a little bit to things like, the chip race coming to an end, the OnlyFriends podcast coming to an end. There seems to be sort of a bit of a contraction in the poker entertainment market. Do you think that's true? And can we talk about that a little?
I think that the poker media landscape has always been a little bit of ebb and flow. And, I see OnlyFriends do their last show, and I see the chip race come to an end in sort of the same window, really, right? But I also think that there's where that happens, that presents opportunities for other people to jump in and try and do something different. And it's, I'm not going to lie, I've had multiple conversations since those two shows went off about, hey, how do we fill the space? What can we do to grab this attention that these guys had done a fantastic job of building up over time? How do we get that to do this with something else that's similar but not the same, right? And I think you're going to see that through this WSOP. You're going to see some different approaches, and you're going to see maybe a new media outlet gets launched, or maybe a new podcast gets launched. It just seems like there's always someone coming in and trying new things. If I'd been on the show, say 4 years ago, we would not have talked about Poker.org, even though it existed at the time. We wouldn't have considered it a major outlet. We wouldn't have been talking about the staff. So I think it's just part of the nature of things that we go through this. Getting some, losing some. At one point, again, showing how old I am, it wasn't that long ago that Card Player Magazine was a massive voice in our industry. It's certainly a smaller voice now, but at one point they were on books, like Bluff the same. They were on the shelves at Barnes & Noble. They were in every casino. They were 128 pages deep, both magazines. So it comes and it goes, and it's just a matter of being a little bit cyclical, I think.
So reading between the lines, what you're saying, that this is the year the Rec Poker can get nominated for a GPI Podcast Award.
I don't see why not.
We're filling the void, is what I hear you saying. That's wonderful, Lance. Thank you. I'm glad we can count on you.
If it wins, do I get to claim a fifth one?
I think so. Hey, whatever incentivizes you to bang that drum, sir.
Okay, fair enough. I'll get 1/50th of
right. That sounds more like it. Lorianne, you actually had a question about Lance's journalistic plans himself.
Yeah, that was pretty much it, Jim.
Oh shoot! I'm sorry. I keep doing this.
I think you kind of asked the question, but no, that was what my question was.
God
Lance, do you have any specific journalistic plans for this summer? Are you covering any particular series more than others, or just what you do?
Anybody who's ever had access to Google Analytics will tell you that you absolutely have to cover the World Series. It's depending on how you want to measure it, it makes up about 60% of a site's traffic for the year. If you're producing content regularly and following it, it is the thing that most poker players are keen to follow a little bit closer than any WPT or EPT event, unfortunately. But I'm going to do some coverage of the World Series throughout the summer. I've talked to a few mainstream outlets about potentially covering the 50K Players Championship because I think that's a unique story that a larger audience would really appreciate. And then I'll be there for at least part of the WSOP main event to do some coverage from there because my favorite day of the year is day 1A of that event.
Why day 1A? Just because it's just the first day, or
it's the first day? It's everybody's excited and nervous, and there's just so many stories to tell.
No one's busted yet. It's all positive. I like that.
As opposed to the specifically day 1A, or you just since there's like 4.
I mean, all the day ones are great, but day 1A is sort of it's Christmas morning, right? And it's if you had to repeat Christmas morning 4 times, you'd still love day 1D, but not as much as you loved day 1A.
So yeah, my apologies to Lorianne. So Rob Gardner came in here and got us
It's
all
teamwork.
professionalized, and now we've got this sheet of like a rundown that we're working. And I keep queuing people up for their questions by stealing their questions. This is honestly, this is me doing my best, everybody. I want you to know this isn't a shtick. This is actually me trying my hardest.
This is Jim being Jim. That's
Yeah,
all.
that's true. At least you know what you're getting, gang.
Exactly.
So okay, well here, there's knowing what you're getting, Lance. Have you been surprised by anything in the poker industry recently?
Surprise. Not really. I think, we're seeing the fields sort of lowered a little bit year over year. Not a dramatic amount, but I think post-COVID, there was a level of excitement around poker. If you remember the first WPT stop after COVID, they were still playing with plexiglass. And yet they, filled that building. So we're seeing a little bit of adjustment to sort of not the pre-COVID numbers, but we're seeing it come down just a little bit. I suspect this year's WSOP fields will be down a little bit. I think international travel is a little bit trickier. I think there's people that maybe don't want to travel as much this summer, aren't inclined to it, namely Canadians. But I think it's still going to be a fantastic WSOP, and it's going to be an amazing summer.
Yeah. Now I'm curious about that. We should talk a little, I guess. Lance, you and I are both Canadian. A lot of my Canadian friends and poker players have decided not to come down to the States this year. Part of it's because of this whole 51st state crap. Part of it's just about, what's happening down there and how people that aren't American citizens are at more risk than they used to be. Do you feel like that is being reflected at a larger level from Canadians particularly? Do you feel like it is something that's going to have a tangible impact on events like the entire series of the WSOP?
So I think, the players that I've talked to that are from Vancouver, where I'm from, are a little bit hesitant, and they've never really been before, right? They've never been reluctant to go for any reason other than the tax burden, which is a pain in the ass enough. But it's just seeing the 51st state and some of the rhetoric built around that, I think, is challenging people to stay home. I think what you're going to see, because I've been here before, is you might see the events in June year over year be down a little bit. And then as we get closer to the main event, that fear of missing out thing becomes pretty real. And that's the one event that you just don't want to miss. It's not, the Millionaire Maker, the Colossus, the Mystery Bounty events, all that stuff. Those are fantastic events, but it's not the main event. And I think you're going to see I think you'll see a down number in the main event this year, but not a percentage close to what you're going to see in the June events. I think people will just decide to gamble it up, I guess, and try and make their way to Vegas.
Yep. Well, that is very much in the poker player's nature, so that does check out. All right, so we kind of teased it at the top. We're going to come back to it at the end. Give us a few of your biggest poker pet peeves, even if you can't nail it down to just one. What are some things?
I think the one is, and I think it's just a matter of poker players being focused on poker, is there is a real misunderstanding out there about how the WSOP and the EPT and the WPT and Triton and all these tours operate, because they all operate differently. The WPT, for its part, is basically partnering with the venue that is having the event. The event is really up to the host venue. If they want to make the structure absolute garbage, they can. WPT was great at giving suggestions, and here's the detailed structure we'd like you to follow, but realistically, if they want to change the structure to super deep, super shallow, whatever they want to do, that's up to them. It's their event. WPT is really a marketing vehicle. WSOP is, at least prior to this year with the new ownership, they're very much working with the Horseshoe and Paris group to host that event. So, but there is still a little bit of we're renting ballroom space from you, and so every drink we serve, we're paying Paris $5, right? So there's just a real, I see tweets all the time where people are like, why doesn't the EPT just do this? Well, because they can't. They would love to, but they just can't. Hey, why don't we have 4 starting days instead of 2? That way we can play shorter days. And the casino's like, what are you talking about? I want this thing to be a 5-day event, not a 9-day event. So it just gets into maybe I think the tours themselves, the operators could do a better job of educating the public on how those work. I'll say that.
So I'll take one more segue here. You talked about sort of the main event of the WSOP being a special kind of tournament. There's been a lot of talk recently about how to make it more accessible to other players, shortening the days, having more days, shortening the levels. Do you think there are any good ideas or terrible ideas? Like what's at both ends of the spectrum?
So that's a unique event because of the fact it's 4 starting days, 2 day twos, right? A, B, C, and D, which creates a challenge. If you're a rec player and you want to play day 1A, because that's what fits with your real life, your work, your family, your kids are on vacation, you want to play 1A because that's what fits, then what do you do for B, C, and D, right? You're in Vegas, you're there, you're probably going to gamble. And then you're going to play day 2 ABC, right? And then if you make that, then you have another day off. If you go attempt to make the days shorter, you are lengthening the amount of time that a rec player has to be away from work, family, obligations at home. So it's super challenging to figure out exactly how to make that thing work. 10,000 people in a poker tournament is having seen how the sausage is made. 10,000 people in an event is absolutely bananas from a logistics standpoint. And you've got to do your absolute best to get those things through, whether it's shortening to 90 minutes levels as opposed to the 2 hours, and getting an extra level in so that the field is smaller for those 2A, 2B, and you've got the rec players maybe a chance to not have to spend a week in Vegas to not cash. But I think shortening the days and keeping 2 hour levels is not the right way to go.
There you go. All right. Well, we're going to play Stake, Study, Stack and wrap up this fantastic interview. This has been a pleasure. Thanks, Lance. So Stake, Study, Stack, we're going to give you 3 names. You have to choose one that you would stake in a poker tournament or cash game, one that you'd like to study with to help yourself improve as a player, and one that you'd like nothing more than to just stack them at the tables and take all their chips. Okay, are you ready, sir?
Let's do it.
All right, Stake, Study, Stack with Lance Bradley. Your 3 names are Brad Willis, editor-in-chief at Poker.org, published author and pro Maria Konnikova, and big man at the Poker News, who you've already mentioned tonight, Chad Holloway. Stake, Study, and Stack. Who's it going to be?
Wow, that's a fantastic selection. Okay, the study is Maria Konnikova. I've interviewed her a bunch. We've talked writing a bunch. I think she has a fantastic mind, and I think learning from somebody who learned the way she did would be a really unique experience. So that one's easy. I'm going to stake Brad Willis because I think getting to make a buck, if he makes $2, sounds like a lot of fun. And I'm going to stack Chad Holloway, if only because it gives me a chance to tell a story about him. Chad actually got his start in poker media working for me at Bluff one summer. He applied to, I think it was a Craigslist ad back in the day, and said, hey, I want to come out and cover the WSOP. Are you guys hiring? I said, yes, come on out. And for those who remember the WSOP in like 06, 07, everything was in the Amazon room somehow. Cash games, satellites, tournaments, dailies, everything was in the Amazon room. And Chad finished up his work for the day and was like, hey, do you mind if I go play cash? I was like, no, it's fine. But he managed to be within my sight line. And he was maybe 8 or 9 tables away, playing 2-5 and trying to be all serious. This is a very young Chad Holloway. And I pulled the server aside and I said, I need you to do me a favor. Here's $50. Bring that young man, Shirley Temples, until he's got 3 or 4 in front of him all night long. Don't tell them where they're from. Just tell them that his drink is ready. Chad tells that story to this day because I got to watch this server walk over with a Shirley Temple and put it down. And the look of bewilderment on Chad's face was worth the money. I'd pay double to relive it.
That is a great one. Thank you, Lance. Thank you for that gift. That is fantastic. And let's give our audience a gift. Where can they sign up for the overlay and get more Lance Bradley in their lives?
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's theoverlay.substack.com, or you can just go to my Twitter, which is at Lance_Bradley, and it's in the bio there. Either way, it's a free subscription. It's going to be free for the next little bit. We'll see if that ends up changing, but it's a free subscription. You get it right in your inbox. You don't have to figure out how a URL works.
All right, and I'll make sure that the link to sign up for that and Lance's Twitter handle are in the show notes as well, so folks can just scroll on down, take a click there. Lance Bradley, thank you so much for joining us on the RecPoker Podcast, man.
Hey, thank you guys. This was a ton of fun, and I really appreciate you guys bringing me on.
Thanks,
Right,
Lance.
hopefully we'll see you again
There's the
sometime real
wall.
soon. Yeah, exactly. How many walls are you on, Lance? Holy cow, what a legacy. Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, that was the interview with Lance Bradley. I'm kind of curious. We're gonna announce some home game winners. We're gonna give away some fantastic prizes. I'll ask the panel first. What do you this group think are some of the best and worst ideas on how to tweak the main event, or should we just leave it the way it is? I'll jump in and I'll say I'm actually going to take the other side of it than Lance. I think the 2-hour levels are what make it truly, truly special.
Yeah.
90-minute levels also sound cool, but there's just something so magical about the 2-hour levels. I hope that that's not what they tweak.
I wouldn't want to change a thing. Like maybe I'm just kind of set in my ways or whatever, but like it has such a legacy. It's done. It's grown and it has all this stories and all this pageantry and like it's like the event, and so like it should be long and it should spread out and it should have all this play and you should have big stacks in front of you and you should have I want it all the same. So
I don't want
I want to
until I can at least play it once.
there you go.
There we go. I'm with you, Rod. I was going to say I can't add or take away anything because I've never played the event. So
I think to echo what everybody else is saying, if we change something about the main event, then we would have to have asterisks.
Asterisks.
And we've already seen in Rec Poker the problem that asterisks cause within the poker community.
It's a
So
dark path.
I just, I
will say the one thing that I can add that I miss from watching the old days, and it's probably a lot harder these days since the fields are so large, is someone who gets tilted when I don't you play smaller tournaments and they don't color up. I have to be honest, I kind of miss the old days of WSOP when they had the mounds and mountains of chips in front of them that they had. And I wonder, how are they playing around these chips? Because honestly, I have to be honest, I thought it looked really cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, so that would be the
Chip
one thing I wish
castles.
that the chip that they could bring back, because it just looked like when you're late in a tournament and you've got 40 or 50 million chips, it really should look like you've got 40 or 50 million chips, that you can't. Granted, it's a nightmare as on the flip side as someone who's been a tournament sideline reporter, that was probably a nightmare to count for the live reporters.
And they kind of make up for it by bringing out once those million chips come out and they're they're like a little bit bigger than the other ones. You're like,
yes,
ooh,
it
it's
definitely
getting serious. We got little bigger chips now.
Yeah, it definitely helps because I remember covering the 2019 WSOP. I worked covering the Big 50 at the time, and when you got late, in fact, covered literally the final table in the last stages of the tournament. And when you're a live reporter, you just have to glance. You don't really have time to literally stand there and count. So you're taught which is also why we politely ask if you want your chip counts to put them in stacks of 20, because for the tournament reporters, it's just easier to count. And it's always an estimate. It's never exact. But even then, with just the massive amount of chips, I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to count all these chips. 150 million in chips is just mind blowing when you think about it. When you start out with a 20 or 30K stack.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. I guess I'd put if we had to change something about the main, and like someone said, you have to do something differently. I think I would be okay with removing one level per day, keeping it at 2-hour levels, but just have the day be 2 hours shorter. If you did that for 6 days, then you've got basically an extra day at the end of it. But it's for such a small portion of the player pool. Like by the time you get through day 5, you're down to 200 players anyway. Like the number of players that are really going to be affected by having an extra day on the back end, I don't think is that extreme. I say don't change it, but if they had to change it, I'd much rather take a level out of the day than shorten the levels. I hope they never shorten the levels. And don't make it a rebuy or anything stupid like that. Just one freeze out, long levels. magical,
I
special.
think what Rob said is very, very, very important, because they've already changed. I mean, they've changed the structure of the WSOP as or the main event from what it was back in the days when, Texas Dolly was winning it. It's totally different now, because in those days you paid $10,000, you got 10,000 chips, and that was how it worked.
Right.
And now you pay $10,000, you get 60,000 chips.
Yep.
And the blind levels are totally different. So they've done those types of things to make it better, but changing it from the standpoint of fewer days or changing the amount of time per day, I don't think we need to do any of that. I think we're at a good place right now.
The day 2 direct buy-in, I have to admit, for someone, even though, like I said, I've never played it, I am still not a fan of that, because I think that takes away from what the main event, like you said, where you brought up, John, the prestige of it. To me, if you can just buy in directly into day 2, I don't know, that seems kind of to me. But of course, obviously, they're never going to change it back. But
we could solve all of this if we just passed a rule that in order to cry like a baby and boycott the WSOP main event, you have to make it day 4 in the last 15 years.
Phil Dig.
Yeah.
Phil Dig coming there. That's right.
Oh.
Speaking of Phil Hellmuth, come on the show, coward. You said you'd come on the show. Let's make this happen. I know you're listening. Anyway, we're gonna make
that's
that
who
happen.
He was talking about.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm just.
I have no idea what he's talking about. Yeah. All right. Rob Washam, do you want to first announce our home game ROI winners, or would you prefer to first give away or say who's our premium membership participation coaching winner? What would you like to do first? Plus, we're giving away some ramp membership and all sorts of crazy stuff tonight. What do you want to do first?
I'm at your service. What would you like?
Let's do the home game. Let's announce the home game top ROI winners.
ROI winners. Okay.
That's right.
Now, this is an interesting month because evidently the Wrecking Crew took April off, or just didn't play very much, or when they did play, it just got destroyed by the rest of the field, because none of them made the top at all.
All right. So the top 5
John
are all
and I actually were
members.
on the bottom of the whole thing and did not cash once in April. So there you have it.
The universe is healing.
Yes. So, number 1, we had Bone Crusher 14.
Oh,
There we go.
such a
at
boss.
180%
Marcel, nicely done.
ROI.
Yep.
Matty Bumpo again
Ooh.
makes an appearance in the top 5. Kel Brown 73. Now, I don't know that he's ever been in the top 5 before.
No, but he's been a home
So-
game player for a while. I know that.
Yep. So now he's up there. Stewie 13, of course, our own Stuart
surprises
Carriage.
there.
Everybody, he's been there before. And a real Jim sighting. We have Gibber 3 coming in at number 5 in April.
Fantastic. Well, I know our number 1 finisher, Marcel Dusick, has already been in touch with me about lining up his prize. And this is how it works, folks. If you're a premium member and you're playing in our free Play Money home game club, that's free to play, but the prizes are real. If you're a premium member and you have the top ROI amongst all our premium members that played that month, your prize is you get to choose a future podcast episode to come on the show and meet the guest of your dreams and ask them a question in real life. So congratulations to Marcel, and we'll make that happen at some point real soon. But that's not the only perk to being a premium member around here, Rob Washam. Our premium members attend fantastic training sessions and coaching sessions throughout the month. And every time they do, they get a little raffle ticket. And we're going to draw a winner for who is actually going to win a personal coaching session with Mark Zhang. So Mark is a fantastic professional player, a member of the Wrecking Crew. And every month he gives away an hour of coaching. Actually, it's been more than an hour for the last couple, but a personalized coaching session. So let's click to spin the wheel and see who our winner is going to be this month. Who's the premium member that is going to win some free personal coaching from the one and only Mark Zhang? It's Joe Walton.
Joe Walton.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Wrecking Crew member and all-around good guy. So Rob Washam will be reaching out to you, Joe, to put you in touch with Mark Zhang, and then you will be the subject of our coaching program with Mark on the 4th Monday of the month, which is coming up. So sometime real soon. Congratulations. Rob Gardner, we're also giving away, I think, a fantastic prize to do with Ramp Poker. Do you want to share some details about that?
Yeah, we're going to be giving away a free access to the Ramp Poker training course, over 60 training videos this week. And if you come back next week, we're going to give away a free membership to the course and 4 private lessons with me. So
yeah,
come back next week for the pod. That'll be an epic time. And I think there's somebody named Maria Ho that's coming on too. That's
right.
Interests you just
breaking news. Yeah,
that name
folks,
sounds familiar.
This episode is going to come out on audio format on Friday, which means if you listen to it over the weekend, you've got time. Come back on Monday night, May 26th, because you will be able to not only be part of the interview with Maria Ho, but you're also going to be someone in the room, someone in the YouTube chat that night is going to win free access to Ramp Poker's video library, but also 4 personal coaching sessions from Rob Gardner. So that is super exciting.
Now,
Rob,
we got to do 2 wheel spins, right? Are we doing one for Ramp and one for what's the other prize? We're doing
pokercoaching.com. They're going to get a free month over there.
Which one are we going to do first? This is kind of sketchy, right? Like we got to. We're doing
that's a good point. Let's declare.
Somebody's going to be upset. I don't know who, but somebody's going to be upset that we did it in the wrong order.
We mentioned pokercoaching.com first, so let's do that one first.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Everyone who typed the words food bank into the YouTube chat. Let's see who someone's got some very good odds.
Yeah, I was going to say
good odds here.
Got a couple dozen people in the YouTube chat, but only half a dozen of them put their words in. Let's see who it's going to be. Let's spin that wheel. Who is our winner of the prize from pokercoaching.com, one of our fantastic learning partners? It's Hubie. Hey, Hubie. Hubie, please send an email to info@rec.poker. You have won a fantastic prize, and our Rec Poker Santa will get you all set up. And then let's spin it again. Who is the winner of the... Yeah, jump in.
No, I was going to say the winner of this one can email contact@ramppoker.com.
There we go.
And we'll get you taken care of with the credit for that.
Let's see who it's going to be.
Oh,
it's close.
So close.
It's close. Oh, wow. All right. B.O. So, B.O., welcome to the show. Thanks for typing your question into the chat, and thanks for typing the food bank. And hopefully we've raised a little awareness about some food bank support here. Rob Gardner, what email address should B.O. send that email to claim their fantastic prize?
You can send it to contact@ramppoker.com.
All right. John Somsky, why don't you take us through some recent winners in the home game club, and then we will roll on out of here.
Well, on May 14th, we had our Mixed Game Championship Series. This is held the second Wednesday of every month. And we keep track of points for the Player of the Year series. And Bone Crusher 14, Marcel Dusick, got his first mixed victory of the year. JBT Twin Cities still holds the Player of the Year points race lead. And then on May 12th, MCF.Jack, Jack McFarland, won the TOC event for the first time.
Nice. Congratulations on the silver pin.
And yes, earning a silver pin. And I should note that the Mixed Game Championship Series and the No Limit Championship Series are the 2 games every month that don't get you into the next month's TOC, along with last month's TOC. So there are 3 games held every month that don't earn you a spot to the TOC. Then SNFR 666, Tom Roach got his first nightly victory. Michael Babker got his third nightly victory for the year. E. Anderson 85, Eric Anderson got his 8th nightly victory for the year.
Fantastic.
Jimmy Boots, Mike Smearden got his 2nd nightly victory for the year. Mike B 172, Mike Bayer got his 2nd nightly victory for the year. Kel Brown 73 got his first international
Ooh,
victory of the year.
back.
Flipwreck, Luke O'Driscoll got his first international victory for the year. And Graphic 16, Roger Schutte
Oh.
from the LPP event for the second time. He can contact info at rec.poker for his free month at Learn Pro Poker.
That is amazing. So a good mix of new and old names in that group there. But what I love is that Michael Babker and Roger Schutte are both winners this week, because we talk at the top of the show about how Rec Poker is a mostly volunteer-led organization. And Roger and Michael are two fantastic guys that contribute a lot behind the scenes to help with the podcast and the website and a lot of what we do around here. So I love seeing those guys get their victory in the winner's circle. Roger, if you're interested, you have one on Sunday. The Sunday winner every week wins a free month at Learn Pro Poker. So send that email to info@rec.poker to claim your prize. I also want to just mention that we've got some fun stuff coming up at Running Aces on Memorial Day. That's next Monday. It's the Holiday Double Stack Tournament. That's a 10 a.m. starting time, $200 buy-in, and a $24K starting chip stack. And then you have another chance at a Holiday Double Stack on the 4th of July, in case you're not playing in the WSOP main event. And then in case you are playing in the WSOP main event, you'll still have a chance to join us for Rec Poker Weekend at Running Aces. That's August 1st and 2nd, and there will be multiple events for that. I'm really looking forward to that as well. All right, well, I'd like to, Eric Anderson, thank you. Yeah, please, if you're enjoying the show, like it, share it, give us a little smooch on socials. I don't know what the verbiage is these days, but it all helps. I would appreciate it. And I want to thank Lance Bradley for being a fantastic guest. Rob Washam, Lorianne Persinger, Chris Jones, John Somsky, invisible producer Rob Gardner. We couldn't do it without you. All our premium members and Wrecking Crew members, our fantastic audience members in the YouTube chat, and all the audience at home. Thanks for making Rec Poker great. And we'll see you next week on the Rec Poker Podcast. Good night, everybody.
Peace.